come to order. Before I begin, I want to note today's important place in the history of this nation. It's the anniversary of the Allied invasion of Normandy, better known as D-Day. Nearly 160,000 troops bravely fought for and obtained a foothold in Europe that would prove pivotal to our victory. Many of these troops gave the ultimate sacrifice, and to the veterans who took part, we say thank you. This committee will always remember the efforts of those who were there, and we will work to ensure that we fulfill our obligations to them and all veterans. I want to welcome everybody to this hearing this morning entitled Through the Looking Glass, Return to PPV. We are returning to our examination of VA's pharmaceutical prime vendor contract after the hearing we held back in February. The PPV contract is the largest contract at VA, valued at around $4 billion. When executed correctly, the just-in-time delivery system of the PPV contract ensures that pharmaceuticals are delivered to VA's medical facilities in a timely fashion and at a competitive price. As the February hearing revealed, an important aspect of the PPV contract was not executed correctly for a long period of time. A subsequent information request to VA, spurred by a subpoena that was authorized by this committee, confirmed this suspicion. When a needed pharmaceutical is either not available due to a supply shortage or not available through the PPV, federal acquisition regulations outline a clear path towards acquiring the pharmaceutical through an open market purchase. The open market process provides protection through due diligence, competition, and a contract. The actions of purchasing officials at VA willfully ignores these protections and were in fact illegal. In February, the illegal purchases were described as the routine way of doing business, and according to the testimony we heard, no one within VA was held accountable. Now that VA has had even more time to consider the actions of its employees, it is my hope that the illegal purchases are no longer occurring and that the many employees involved in this throughout the VA have been held accountable. The problem is neither of those outcomes appears to have been achieved. While VA may boast about a reduction in unauthorized purchases of pharmaceuticals, this hearing is going to reveal that they still occur despite new training and policies throughout the entire department. VA also identified employees who made unauthorized commitments, and the disciplinary course of action was letters of counseling where appropriate. Not much of a disciplinary action, given the egregious violations that have been identified. As VA will point out, there are ways outlined in federal acquisition regulation to review and ratify unauthorized commitments. The guidelines for ratification are clear, and I caution against anybody oversimplifying and misusing the ratification process as a way of dismissing the hundreds of thousands of unauthorized commitments made by VA employees. I am further disappointed to know that there was strong pushback from many within the department in implementing the new procedures intended to minimize the illegal purchasing of pharmaceuticals. The illegal purchasing of pharmaceuticals does not help veterans. It's just another example of VA wishing to take the easy route instead of doing what is right and required as outlined in law, regulation, and VA policy. Despite VA's new policies and procedures and occasional counseling letters, I remained very concerned that there will be employees who continue trying to find some type of workaround and that supervisors will not hold these employees or themselves accountable for their actions. The precedent of not holding anyone accountable is a bad one to continue to follow. The fact is, VA knew they were heading down a slippery slope with regards to pharmaceutical purchases back in the 1990s. Yet it appears that minimal effort was made to address this until this committee put its oversight spotlight on it over a decade later. Many of those that did try to call attention to the problem were dismissed by their peers and even their supervisors for trying to do the right thing. We already know the problems that exist. What we need to know now is not only the detailed action that has been taken to fix them, but also how it will prevent these same problems from occurring again in the future. It's my hope going forward that when VA identifies a problem, just like this one, it's forthcoming with this committee and Congress. We look forward to working to fix them together. Receiving VA's testimony less than 24 hours before this hearing, however, doesn't help us in this effort. With that, I yield to the gentlelady from Florida, the ranking member, Ms. Brown.